has shut out 5 experts on public financing of elections. Right now, they're going to tell us what they would have said if they had been allowed to testify. Alexis Grinnell from Common Cause will MC the speakers. Do it. Stand next to Larry.
And Mike.
Go to one side or the other.
By reputation, are national experts on public financing and campaign reform. We've got Susan Lerner from Common Cause, Larry Norton from the Brennan Center, Dave Palmer from the Center for Working Families, Jessica Tesky and Karen Sharp from Citizens Action New York. They're going to speak to you here because they've been excluded from speaking at the formal hearing of the Senate Ethics Committee, and we're going to start and hear from Lawrence Norton from the Brennan Center.
Thanks, Alexis. So I just want to start out with some numbers that a lot of people here are probably familiar with. There are 63 members of a state senate. In less than 7 years, we have seen 13 of them either fined, charged, or convicted of a crime. In the last less than 5 years, we have seen 4 leaders of this chamber either charged or convicted of a federal crime. 70% of money raised by candidates in the New York State legislature comes from special interests and not individuals. Despite all of these facts, today the Senate Republicans have decided to hold a hearing not to look into what's wrong in Albany, not to look at why we have a show me the money culture, not to examine how we can deal with corruption, not to examine why special interest money has such a hold over this chamber, but instead to look at another system, the New York City system, which, while not perfect, is better than the state campaign finance system in every way. I have asked to testify today, as has everyone here, as experts on campaign finance reform and ethics. We have been denied that opportunity. If I was allowed to testify today, I would be citing all of the independent studies from the Brennan Center, from the Campaign Finance Institute, from Common Cause, and from other organizations that show that a comprehensive campaign finance reform with small donor public matching at its core leads to more competition, leads to less corruption, and leads to a system that voters and the public are more confident in.
Hi, I'm Susan Lerner from Common Cause New York. And if I were allowed to testify today, I would point out that Common Cause has 40 years of experience in campaign finance reform at the federal level. We've been involved in helping to pass and set up all of the public funding systems around the country. I personally have spent time in Arizona talking to people who run under the clean election system there. We were instrumental in Maine, we were instrumental in Connecticut, and in New York City. We have a wealth of first-hand experience which we would be happy to share with the senators about how comprehensive campaign finance reform can actually make a difference and clean up the kind of corruption that we saw in Connecticut, the kind of corruption that we saw in New York City, that we now are not suffering from in those places because of comprehensive campaign finance reforms built around a core small dollar matching fund system. So it's really a shame that the senators are not interested in facts, they're interested in propaganda. And all that will result in is a preserved, a corrupt status quo, which New Yorkers reject.
All right. My name is Dave Palmer. I'm the Executive Director of the Center for Working Families. If I were allowed to testify today, I would talk about a report that the Center for Working Families did that found that money follows power. And it does so to get things in return. And that's not right for democracy.
That's not right. That's not right.
Public financing is the single best way to reduce the influence of big money in our politics. If I were allowed to testify today, I would tell them that. I would also tell the committee that New York City's campaign finance system has way better enforcement than we do at the state. So to the extent that they're going to be talking about abuse of the public financing system in New York City, it's incorrect. When there are attempts at abuse, they're found and prosecuted. Meanwhile, in New York State, they're not. I would also tell them that the cost of public financing is less than they claim and worth every penny to defend our democracy. The irony here is that public financing is about increasing the voice of more people so they can participate in our political process, and we're being shut out of the political process today.
I can't even get in.
It's all right.
It's not right.
My name is Jessica Wisniewski. I'm the Legislative and Campaigns Director for Citizen Action in New York. And I would say this, if I were to give testimony today, a little bit different from my colleagues, a little political reality for the state senators. On the same day, the Assembly Democrats upstairs are poised to pass a campaign finance reform that would reject me the show me the money culture in Albany. The Senate Republicans are here justifying the status quo and railing against the solution of putting voters and real people in control of elections. Today, advocates' voices were silenced, but the real crime is that the Senate Republicans are pushing hard to continue to silence the voice of voters, of all of you, and New Yorkers in the campaign finance system. Senate Republicans are here today to tell us that they oppose the solution, that they're comfortable with the status quo. In fact, they've mastered the art of legalized bribery in New York State, and they're here today to protect the current system. We're here today to tell them that we will not take no as an answer any longer. We demand that the Senate coalition government, who said they'd get campaign finance reform done, fulfill their promise to New Yorkers and stop the onslaught of corporate campaign cash that is currently filling their campaign coffers and controlling public policy that comes out of this building. We want fair elections, and we want it now.
Check. Mic check. The Sergeant at Arms are not allowing anyone to witness the hearing. The Republicans have filled the room with their staff members. There are very few people who are members of the public inside the hearing. The sergeants at arms are not allowing the public to witness the hearing. Just FYI.
Everybody's watching.